St. Francis once said, "Start by doing what is necessary, then do what is possible, and then suddenly you're doing the impossible." And I believe that this quote embodies everything that St. Francis was. Before he was a saint, before he was well known, he was a son of a merchant from a middle upper class family. He liked money. He liked throwing around his money. He liked clothes. But then something changed at this time. He went to war, and when he came back, he wasn't the same person. It's said that he went to a old, dilapidated Catholic church called St. Damon, and there he was praying and heard God say that, "Francis, can't you see that my house is in ruin? Go and fix it." And he literally took that as, I need to go and fix the church. I need to rebuild the church. So he went back home, took 2 bolts of his father's cloth and sold them. And with the money, he wanted to go and rebuild the church. Well, his father found out that he stole from him, and he was not happy. So he went to go and find him, and he ended up actually locking him up and essentially pressing charges. Well, Francis denied seeing the civil authorities about it, so he took him to the bishop. Well, the bishop of the church told him that he needed to give back all the money back to his father. And so he did, and he then stripped all his clothes and said, "This is my father's too, and from today on I will no longer be known as his son." And after that he became essentially a beggar, which is called a mendicant. So he begged for everything he needed. Well, he wanted to rebuild the church because that's what God had told him to do. He came to the realization that he couldn't just ask people for the money, and he couldn't ask for donations for the church. So instead, he decided he was going to beg for stones, for building equipment, anything that he needed. That's what he begged for. He didn't beg for the money to get it, he begged for the thing itself. So he became well known for the beggar of stones. But in this time, he rebuilt 3 churches: St. Damon, St. Peter, and St. Mary of the Angels. And then during this time, people were watching him, and he was a charismatic man, and he had kindness, and he was polite. So people were intrigued by him, and I mean, he was begging for stones. So people started coming up to him and asking to follow him. Well, he had told them, "No, why would you want to follow me?" And so he said, "Okay, we'll go to the bishop and we'll ask for the Gospels." So the bishop gave him the 3 Gospels, and it's a Catholic way of seeing God's will. And so they opened up the Bibles at random, the Gospels at random, and would read the first passage they came across. All the passages that they read, they did it 3 times, were about self-sacrificing, giving up everything to follow Christ. And so they took it as a sign that, yes, they should be following St. Francis. So after this, he then sent them off to go and preach to the world, to the town around them, not the world. And so at this time, he then came to the realization that you can't just convert people that way. He started his ideal with live the Christian life, and people are going to come to you. Treat people with kindness, treat them with respect, treat them as human beings, because he mostly for a time worked with lepers who were outcast. So he treated them all with the respect that they were lacking. They were outsiders. They were casted out from the town. Well, after he realized that, he went to the Vatican and asked the Pope if he could form an order. Well, at this time, the Catholic Church is a decadent church. And so they're afraid of the following that he has. But they agree, and then that's when the Friar Minors, or the Little Brothers, came to be. So, I mean, another quote he said is, "Where there is charity and wisdom, there is neither fear nor ignorance." And that is what his order is all about.